Okay, so today our goal is to create a footnote for Architectura Sinica record number 3, place record number 3. And at first I want to show you what we had accomplished with place record number 1 and what it is supposed to look like when it's done. The footnote has reference in 2 different places. The first place is under your element description up here. You'll see that it has a source attribute, which is listed as Bibble, the number of the place followed by a hyphen and the number 1 to indicate that that's the first footnote available. Then we scroll down, and as the last element within your place element here, there is a Bibble element, which contains an XML ID attribute, which is the same as the one we just looked at above, and a pointer target element, and a cited range unit element. So our goal is to replicate that so that we'll also have that in place record number 3 by the time we're done. I'll show you the list of steps that I wrote out, and I'll also email you this list of steps. So first we want to find the source in the description element, which we just did. Of course, it doesn't have to be in a description element. If you happen to have placed a footnote reference somewhere else, it could be in that other element as well. You want to make sure that your source is in Zotero. I know that the source is in Zotero because it's the same source that you used for places number 1 and places number 2. You want to copy the URI from Zotero, which is also known as its short title. You want to create a Bibble element with an XML ID as the last element within your place element. And there's that, which we already saw before, which appears in 2 places in your document. Create a pointer target with that URI, add a cited range element with a unit attribute, cited range unit equal page number, and then finally add a source attribute in the description element. So don't worry, I went through all that rather quickly, but we'll go through it step by step here. So the first thing I'm going to do in this case is open up our place number 3 in oxygen. Oops, sorry about that. You'll see that, what's I here? There we go. Once I straightened it all out. You have reference here. This is your footnote that you have. But up here under your description, you do not have reference to that footnote. So the first thing that we want to do is create that in the source attribute. So in this case, it is, I have to remind myself here, it's Bibble with 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is place number 3. Then hyphen footnote 1. And we can copy that. The next thing that we want to do is drop down. In this case, you have actually already put in a more traditional way the footnote, but not using Zotero. So what we want to do actually is delete parts of this, because if I remember correctly, you said these kind of were put in automatically and weren't even referring to the proper source. I guess we can get rid of that one too. So then we want to go over to the TEI for place number 1, because it's the same source that you use for place number 1. And we're actually just going to copy this over. Here, this information is for place number 1 right here. This is the source that we see in Zotero. Oops, no internet, that's no good. Give me a moment here. Well, luckily we don't actually need internet to do this. I was just going to show you that this is the same source that we were using for place number 1. I am going to simply copy this, and I'm going to place it right here. And we are simply going to clean it up. So the pointer target, we can actually leave the same because it's the same source as you referred to up here. The Shaanxi, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I don't know Chinese at all. And your citation is actually right here. It's page 513-23-C10. Going to copy that. Let's see, do we know which volume it is? Let's see here, volume 2. So we're simply going to make that volume 2 and then copy and paste the rest from up above. We didn't have a page number listed down here. Let's make sure that we have it in the same format here that we had before. Let's go back and check number 1 for reference. You had a page number, then a... There we go. So that now matches the way you were doing your citations elsewhere, and it's good to be consistent. So we have all of the things necessary. Oops, we have 2 Bibble elements. We don't need that there. Or 2 closed Bibble tags. So now we have all of it available. And let us scroll up and just make sure that we get the information out of up here. Sorry, whenever I start scrolling, the computer doesn't want to stop. This is all your bibliographic information that we just transferred using Zotero. Now this will read not like a citation, but simply like a regular descriptory paragraph. And you'll see that we have this source attribute up here, which is how it knows that you are using a footnote. So that's actually all there is to it. The only thing that might be different is that you might change this based on where you're pulling your information from. This will also change. Say we went on to do place number 4. We might want to change this so that it's 5 zeros and then a 4 to reflect that. This -1 would change if we were having multiple footnotes in one Architectura Sinica element, or sorry, record. Let's go ahead and give this a validate to make sure it looks good. And it does not. And I have a feeling that's because I currently have no internet.